Before we dive in, tap like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss our deep dive coverage of the WNBA, the Indiana Fever, and everything around Caitlin Clark's rookie season and beyond. Drop your take in the comments. Are the online narratives around Clark helping the sport grow, or poisoning the conversation? And if you're a Fever fan, would you re-sign Lexie Hull this offseason, or should Indiana chase a bigger free agent? Let's start with the moment fans still joke about, the Black Air Force One's superstition. In a season packed with hype, scrutiny, and every hot take imaginable, Clark's all-black sneakers became a viral good luck charm. The story really took off when the Fever were down 0-1 in a best-of-3 against the Atlanta Dream. Clark hit the floor in Black Air Force Ones, and the narrative wrote itself. The shoes were a spark, a vibe, a symbol of defiance when Indiana needed one. It was part superstition, part swagger, and totally made for social media. Of course, luck doesn't last forever. As the Fever hit tougher tests, especially against the Las Vegas Aces, fans joked that the Air Force One magic faded at the worst time. It was a light-hearted chapter in a season that often felt heavy. The weight came from everything orbiting Indiana's new star. One of the most revealing threads this year hasn't been who scored what, but what players really think about Clark. Strip away the noise, and you hear something different inside the league: respect. Yes, there are rivals. Angel Reese wants that smoke. Rhyne Howard, a stone-cold scorer in her own right, plays like she believes she's the best player on any floor. That edge is part of what makes the WNBA compelling. But beneath the rivalries, there's a recognition of Clark's talent, court vision, and gravitational pull. Even when fans try to pit Clark against Paige Bueckers, as if they're the same player with the same game, you hear pros suggest Paige knows exactly how good Clark already is. Public beef sells. Private respect sustains leagues. The disconnect between how players talk and how social media talks is the engine of the current drama. Entire accounts exist just to bait fans into rage clicks. Lists get posted that leave Clark off top under 25 rankings for engagement, not accuracy. People move players out of position. Paige Bueckers at the 3, Sonia Citron at the 4, just to justify Clark's exclusion and watch the comments flood in. It happens because it works. But it also warps the conversation around the actual basketball. If you want to argue Paige versus Caitlin straight up, make the basketball case. The numbers fans cite lean heavily toward Clark right now. Higher usage, more playmaking responsibility, more points on fewer shots in stretches, and efficiency that improves as the season stabilizes. Clark takes risks other guards won't. That produces turnovers, but it also produces threes from 7 feet beyond the line, skip passes most players don't see, and momentum swings that decide games. Bueckers is beautifully controlled and unbelievably poised. Clark is a live wire who bends defenses just by crossing half court. Both are elite. Pretending one is not top 5 under 25 isn't basketball analysis. It's content farming. Inside Indiana's locker room, though, none of that noise pays the bills. Lexie Hull's status as a restricted free agent is a real storyline with real consequences. Her message to fans was heartfelt and plain. She loves Indiana, she loves the franchise, and she's built a life in the city. But restricted free agency changes the calculus. The Fever can match offers, but the market will set her price, and roster math is unforgiving. Hull's two-way value matters: defense, spacing, toughness, and the fact that she's a pro who knows how to play next to high-usage stars like Clark and Aaliyah Boston. If the number is right, Indiana should keep her. If another team offers starter money and guaranteed minutes, the decision gets complicated fast. That's the kind of real-world pressure that never trends, but shapes seasons more than any online argument. Hull's recent comments had another kind of power: what she didn't say. Fans desperate for a tell-all about locker room tensions didn't get it. No shots, no innuendo, no wink at a rumored rift around Clark. Her silence spoke louder than any quote. That doesn't confirm drama, it confirms professionalism. Players know how fast a stray sentence becomes a headline, and how quickly a headline can derail an off-season plan. Hull focused on her future and her team. In a season where every story became a culture war, that restraint deserved more attention than it got. The broader environment around the WNBA hasn't helped. There's honest debate about how Clark is officiated and defended, How physical is too physical, and where the line should be drawn to protect star players without softening the game. Some columnists have used charged language to describe what Clark faced. Others pushed back, saying physical play is part of the league's DNA. The truth lives in the details. Play-by-play, angles, and whether the rulebook is applied consistently. The league's integrity depends on that consistency. Indiana's chemistry depends on not letting the debate swallow the team's identity. Layered over all of that are the looming labor talks. The league's collective bargaining negotiations are the biggest story that doesn't fit neatly into a highlight reel. Most insiders expect a lockout to be avoided, but the uncertainty slows everything down. Offers, options, and the kind of long-term planning a team like the Fever needs. That affects restricted free agents like Hull, veteran role players trying to maximize their next deal, and front offices trying to thread the needle between talent and flexibility. When people say, "This is the most important time in the W," they mean it. The CBA determines salary structure, travel upgrades, maternity and family policies, charter flights, revenue sharing, the spine of a modern league. Indiana's coaching situation has floated on the rumor mill, too. Nothing derails a young team faster than mixed signals from the bench. The Fever's job is to stabilize the scheme, simplify reads for a rookie point guard with a green light, and keep reps clean for Boston, who is already trending toward perennial All-WNBA form. That's the path from hype to wins. Consistent roles, clear coverages, and a rotation that makes sense. You can't control the online noise, but you can control the next possession. About those sneaker comments, though. Hull's quip that Clark probably has the best sneaker game because she gets the most free shoes was the kind of light moment fans needed. It also said something real about where the WNBA is headed. Clark's marketability drives eyeballs. Eyeballs drive sponsorship. Sponsorship drives broadcast deals. When teammates joke about shoes, they're acknowledging the new economy of the W and the pressure that comes with being the league's most visible player on day one. The benefit is obvious. The weight is, too. Nothing magnifies pressure like a manufactured rivalry. The most common grenade lobbed at Clark is that she turns it over too much. The counter, offered by people actually watching the tape, is that risk is part of her value. She's a quarterback guard. She's tasked with stretching the floor vertically and horizontally, unlocking shooters, and making reads at warp speed. You don't draft a Ferrari and then complain it doesn't drive like a sedan. If the Fever want less variance, they can slow the pace and trim the risk. But they drafted variance on purpose, because variance wins series you're not supposed to win. That's where Aaliyah Boston's name belongs in every Indiana conversation. It's wild how often she gets shoved aside in national debates to create Clark versus X storylines. Boston is the anchor. In any serious under 2-5 list, she sits right next to, if not above, a lot of the names fans argue about. Aya Wilson is the standard. Boston is the blueprint for how to compete with the standard in the post. If your under 2-5 list says otherwise, your list is content, not basketball. All of this lives under an even bigger umbrella, trust in the product. Across sports, there's been renewed scrutiny on betting integrity. High-profile NBA cases prompted calls in Washington for briefings and stricter guardrails. That doesn't mean the WNBA is implicated. It means the WNBA has to be proactive about transparency and safeguards. Fans deserve to know the scoreboard is clean. Players deserve to know the game isn't being second-guessed by forces outside the lines. Commissioners earn their money here, calm, clear, and credible. Back to the Fever. The story of their season wasn't just the Black Air Force Ones, a viral post, or a single hard foul. It was the grind of becoming a real team while the internet tried to turn every possession into a referendum on the league's future. That's impossible for any 22-year-old to carry alone. It's why keeping the right veterans matters. It's why roles matter. It's why an off-season that looks boring from the outside, retain a 3-and-D wing like Hull, add a defensive guard, clean up the depth at the 5, might be the most important thing Indiana can do. There's also a political undertow to all this that smart teams ignore on purpose. Fans attach labels to players, project narratives onto them, and drag them into cultural battles they never asked to fight. Clark didn't sign up to be anyone's political symbol. She signed up to play professional basketball. The fastest way for the Fever to cut through the static is to win. Winners write headlines. Winners shape tone. Winners turn debates into footnotes. So where do we land on the online lists and the rage baiting? Argue all you want, just argue clean. If your case is Page, make it with pace control, mid-range mastery, and turnover minimization. If your case is Clark, make it with gravity, shot creation, and the kind of passing windows only a handful of guards in the world can exploit. If your case is Ryan Howard, talkbag and buckets. If you're out here saying Clark isn't top 5 under 25, while moving players around like a fantasy draft to prove it, you're not building the game. You're building engagement. Indiana's front office doesn't have the luxury of engagement. They have to make decisions. Re-sign Lexie Hull or not. Add a big who can defend in space or double down on wings who can guard up. Lean into Clark Boston, pick and roll, or expand the elbow touches for Boston with Clark as a movement shooter. Those choices will decide whether the Fever's next postseason run is a cameo or a campaign. And yes, the Black Air Force Ones will probably make another appearance. They've earned a spot in the growing folklore of Caitlin Clark's early pro days, alongside logo threes, no-look lasers, and a level of attention the WNBA hasn't seen in years. It's okay to smile at the sneaker story. It's okay to admit the season felt heavy. It's okay to hold two truths: the noise was exhausting, and the growth was undeniable. Tell us what you're seeing. Are the Fever one savvy offseason away from a deep run? Would you match any offer for Lexie Hull, or let the market set her future? Who's your real under 255 in the WNBA? And where do Clark, Boston, Reese, and Howard land on your list? We read every comment. If you're into this kind of coverage, on-court breakdowns, front office decisions, CBA updates, player development, sneaker culture, hit like, subscribe, and ring the bell. We'll keep sorting fact from noise, tracking the Fever's moves, and bringing you the stories that actually shape the WNBA. Contracts, coaching, chemistry, and the stars who push the game forward. One last thought for the road. The power of this moment in women's basketball isn't that everyone agrees on everything. It's that everyone's watching. Don't let the rage bait convince you otherwise. Watch the games. Debate the schemes. Appreciate the differences. And then look up in a few years, when a rookie who wore black Air Force Ones for a laugh is an MVP candidate sharing the floor with Aaliyah Boston in late May. That's the future the Fever are trying to build. And if they get this off-season right, it might arrive sooner than anyone expects.